Doing really well here, Neil. And you?
Fantastic. Today's topic, COVID vaccine problems. What is the three main problems of the COVID vaccine manufacturer?
Well, there are several. And of course, if you look up these things on Google or any place on the internet, you're going to be getting AI. And AI doesn't tolerate talking about vaccine problems. But we're going to try today to talk about a couple things. The first thing is the paucity or infrequent amount of codones, and then you have the lipid nanoparticles, and you have DNA contamination, which some people say matters and some people say doesn't matter.
What is a stop codon?
A stop codon is like a period at the end of a sentence. If you think of DNA or mRNA like a sentence, then the codon is a period. So it actually defines the sentence. So in this case, the DNA sentence includes a nitrogen, a phosphate, and a sugar, and the DNA then makes up chromosomes, which we need.
What happens when you don't have enough stop codons?
Well, again, it's like having words without punctuation. So it's hard to define what your sentence is and what your thought would be. So it's not a recognizable form of communication.
What happens when you have a new or unrecognizable polypeptide chain?
Well, the polypeptide chain is really like we were talking about above the DNA or the RNA sentence. So again, if you don't really make sense of what you're saying from a DNA and RNA point of view, then you get things like birth defects, miscarriages, preterm birth, fetal death, and I think we're going to be seeing an uptick of turbo cancers.
Was the European Medicines Agency worried about insufficient codons?
Absolutely, they were. I tried to look this up a few days ago and couldn't find it anymore. It's been, again, um, sterilized, censored. So the folks at Pfizer, Pfizer is in this country, BioNTech is a German company. But if we're talking about the European Medicines Agency, Pfizer and BioNTech reassured them that insufficient codons were not a problem.
What is a lipid nanoparticle?
Well, a lipid is a small piece of fat that circulates in our blood vessels most of the time, but it can also be in the lab. A nanoparticle simply means small particle.
What is the purpose of a lipid nanoparticle?
Well, it's actually there is a purpose, and that is it's designed to wrap around the RNA. The RNA, the mRNA, is unstable and doesn't last very long anywhere. And in particular, if you're just going to inject a bunch of mRNA in a human, it would be destroyed very shortly. So in order to make a vaccine, you need to make sure that the mRNA lasts long enough to do its job, at least what we think it's going to do. And the lipid nanoparticle is the thing that protects the mRNA from breaking up.
Besides protecting mRNA, what else do lipid nanoparticles do?
Well, unfortunately, they are extremely soluble within the human body because lipids are building blocks of many of the structures of function in our living cells. So these lipid nanoparticles can go anywhere. They have an affinity for ovaries, testicles, hearts, and brains.
Is DNA present in COVID vaccines?
Well, again, there's lots of people who say, oh no, we can't have it present. And oh yes, if it is present, it's in small pieces that don't last very long or can't last very long. There is the whole idea, though, of reverse transcription, that is, of mRNA making DNA. Again, this um, it has the potential to integrate into intracellular DNA and develop autoimmunity and possibly, in some cases, antibiotic resistance.
Are there other safety concerns for the COVID vaccines?
Well, some people are worried about gene modifications, and a gene is a specific DNA sequence. So it would be like uh, a word or two in a sentence. And the DNA is located on a chromosome, and the gene gives instructions to the chromosome and the DNA to make a protein.
Can COVID vaccines promote herd immunity?
Well, no. In the beginning, we everybody was supposed to get vaccinated because uh, Fauci said we were going to have herd immunity. As a matter of fact, my daughter, who's a family practice doctor, spent quite a bit of time explaining to me what herd immunity was. Of course, I already knew what it was. But the thing about herd immunity is it works for certain viruses like the polio virus because the polio virus doesn't evolve. But if you look at another virus, like we commonly know the flu virus or the cold virus, the flu virus changes every year. That's why we get vaccines every year. Most of the times they're the wrong vaccine, but we get the vaccine anyway. So again, you're not going to get herd immunity with the COVID vaccination because it changes all the time.
Can COVID vaccines provide long-term immunity from COVID?
I think we've seen that there is no such thing. As a matter of fact, I just read a few days ago, Walensky. Um, she had her last COVID booster, and a month later got her COVID illness. So her booster didn't seem to help her very much.
Okay. Best place to go is worlddocallen.com and pick up Pregnancy Your Way, available today on Amazon. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you, Neil.